The base has dropped on a frigid Monday morning here in Atlanta, Georgia. It looks really nice out there, but it's very, very cold because winter has decided to come back. Maybe it'll change its mind in a couple days and it'll be 60 degrees again. Who knows at this point? It's just what we're dealing with. It's Super Bowl week, too, so everybody is descending upon Atlanta with all of the chaos that goes into a Super Bowl. I guess it really starts kicking off here with everybody showing up around Wednesday, Thursday, when all the folks start coming in for the game. Both teams have arrived. All the media is going on. Radio Row is blasting. So it's kind of a crazy week in Atlanta. Atlanta United will be getting out of town by the end of the week. They'll be heading out to California for training. We'll keep you posted on everything around Atlanta United. But there is a lot going on to kick off this week. Jason Longshore, John Nelson with you this morning. It's going to be hectic because you've got U.S. men's national team to talk about this week. Game last night, 3-0 win. We'll get into that. Lots of overreactions to that. We'll get into that on an Overreaction Monday. Rumors abound around Major League Soccer because it's the last week of the transfer window for most leagues. So Miguel Almiron is in play. We're learning this morning Sebastian Giovinco is definitely in play in Toronto. Franco Escobar maybe was in play, possibly, maybe. Rumors, who knows? It's going to be one of those kind of weeks. So get ready. We'll try to set the scene for all of it this morning. But, John, I guess we should start with the U.S. men's national team. Last night, 3-0 winners over Panama. Not a first-choice Panama squad.
No.
But not a first-choice U.S. squad either. What was your reaction to the match?
Honestly, my expectations weren't all that high to begin with. I was looking for some guys to get their debuts. I didn't want, to be embarrassed, and put that word in quotes, whatever that ends up, quantifying itself as being. And I just wanted to see some solid steps forward. I wanted to see an idea from Greg Berhalter as to how he wanted to proceed, whether it was formationally or personnel. And so for me, I guess it was the first step of a bunch of small steps going forward. That was all I was looking for. I was looking for solid performances. I wanted to see who would have a fire lighted under them for being out there for the first time. And from all of our past conversations of me wanting to see Djordje Mihailovic, I got to see Djordje Mihailovic out there, and he wasn't the only one that was out there for the first time. So for me, I was just looking for a solid first step, even though we know that the Panama squad that was out there was not their A team.
Well, let's hear the highlights from last night on ESPN2. Adrian Healy, Taylor Twellman on the call.
Here is Baird again. It's open Mihailovic! Pure joy for Djordje. Mihailovic makes his mark, a goal on his debut, and the first goal of the Greg Berhalter era. Real good tackle from Lima. The cross through, and there's the second goal. Nick Lima made it happen, but it's a walk in the park for Walker Zimmerman, who keeps on scoring goals. His second for the national team. And a lot of credit going to Nick Lima, the San Jose man who made it happen.
Well, this play starts off an attacking corner for the United States. And how about this from Nick?
It's Jonathan Lewis. A pretty special move and a special moment for Christian Ramirez. Well, the doubters continue to fuel the fire for Christian Ramirez. He just continues to score goals.
Christian Ramirez with the final one, Walker Zimmerman with the one in the middle, and Jordy Mihailovic with the first goal. Last 2 goals in the final 10 minutes. So scoreline might be a little misleading about the way the game played out. Let's hear from Greg Berhalter about the system, and this is a big talking point out of it. It was an interesting starting lineup, an interesting way of playing with Nick Lima sliding inside often, turning from a back 4 to a back 3. Lima kind of playing in a very new role for him, one we haven't seen him play in. It was different. Let's hear from Greg Berhalter about the system of play for the U.S.
Through these first weeks of camps, installing your system, trying to get the guys up to speed, were you pleased with how they put that into play tonight? Were there aspects that you thought worked really well, or what were some of those aspects?
Yeah, so we talked, when I addressed the group after the game, I said it was a good baseline. It gave us enough content to work with. Some of the movements we were working with is on the wings are very complicated movements. It involves three players interchanging and still with the intention to disorganize the defense and get behind their line. So you could see it. That sometimes we were a bit tentative with that, and then there were other times where it came off and it was really nice. So I think there was elements, the wing play, those wing combinations I liked. I liked at times we're playing with 2-10s to purposely find them between lines. I think that's very important, and we did that effectively at times, having 2 options between the lines. And then, some of the build-up stuff was okay. We did make some mistakes with build-up from the goalkeeper, but overall I thought it was okay.
A lot about the system, and the question I have, and yeah, I could maybe even call it an overreaction. This is a unique situation to have a long camp ahead of a match. Greg Berhalter's not going to have this very often. To install a system that is fairly complicated and requires a lot of moving parts and requires a lot of understanding from one another. This is not going to be easy in typical national team matches. And if this is a baseline with a group of players that you can't necessarily say will constantly be part of the national team pool, that concerns me in some ways, just because of the differences between managing a club, and we knew Greg Berhalter would come in and be very thorough and work through this in this type of manner. I wonder what his adjustment is in the games in March, where he's going to have the guys for a day or two before they get on the field. That's where we'll see truly what Greg Berhalter's system will look like.
And for me, yeah, that is the question. As you mention it and you bring it to the fore, you have all of this time to get this idea out there. When you only have 36, 48 hours and you're kind of talking to guys and it's like, okay, do this, this, and this. I know that in theory things would have to be simplified a whole lot just because of everybody parachuting in. You have an idea, you've got a match, and then everybody goes. So,
but that's completely different. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Is simplified a whole lot from what this was. It doesn't look the same because you're not going to be able. I mean, we saw last night. This was a group that had a chance to work on this for quite a while. They've been in camp since early in January. It was tricky, the movement with Lovitz, Zimmerman, Long in the back 3 when Lima pinched up. You saw plenty of opportunities where things were a little unsteady. That's going to be very difficult for players to come into straight away. And Greg Berhalter's going to have to make some decisions. Is he going to call in guys who are system guys and fit the system that he wants to play first, or is he going to call the best players in? There's not really a right answer. There's not really the one way to do it here, but that will affect who gets called in and what you get to work on. I mean, Taylor Twellman talked about it a lot. We saw Tyler Adams play as a right back at times with the New York Red Bulls in something remotely like this. It really wasn't that similar. Adams was more of a wing back than a right back who pinched inside. you could see him fitting into this role because of his experience and because he's such a good central midfielder. But that movement going inside in possession to make it a back three and make it almost like a 3-2-2-3 in a lot of ways, and then going back to a right back when defending and you get a chance to set, that's not something you just pick up in a 90-minute training session. So I'm fascinated to see how this plays out.
Yeah, and that's the way, that's the way it is for me. It's like, all right, so you've done this with guys for a couple of weeks worth of work. Next time out, are you going to stick with what you've done so far with guys who are parachuting in, or once again, do you bring in guys that you've worked with before that you've been trying to build forward with, and then keep them in and bring in a couple of guys here and there? So yeah, I want to see how Berhalter does things on the fly when he's got a lot less time to play with.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to look, and I want to see it. I want to see what happens here in the next match next weekend and how different it might look both from personnel and from style of play system. I'll be curious. It's a very interesting time with the U.S. men's national team. Look, I think the biggest thing to me that I appreciated last night was you had an idea of the way the team wanted to play. And that hadn't been the case under Dave Sarachan, which is completely understandable because you're not building for anything. You're just getting guys minutes. That far too often wasn't the case under Bruce Arena or Jurgen Klinsmann. Was you didn't really know what the game plan was. You knew what it was last night. That's a step in the right direction. I wonder if that game plan is going to be able to translate on the international level on a regular basis. That's probably the biggest question I have. But there was a plan. That's a good step. You saw some renewed energy. You saw one of the craziest things of the night was not fire on Twitter about Michael Bradley. It was amazing. It was shocking. I was a little scared. I thought it might be the end of days. But Michael Bradley was not getting shredded on Twitter on a regular basis. It's kind of hard to shred the guy when he completes 72 out of 75 passes and does everything that you need him to do in that role. Is he the guy going forward? Who knows? We'll see. I don't know. I honestly, after seeing the match last night, I have less of an idea as to what the lineup should be, what the squad should be, what the style of play is going to be. I don't know. And that's okay. That's completely fine right now. You're building right now short-term for the Gold Cup this summer. You've got the game on Saturday, which is now being moved from FS1 to Big Boy Fox. That's pretty cool. Then you have 2 games in March. Then you have a couple of games ahead of the Gold Cup, and then you're straight into the competition where I don't know what the expectation's going to be. I think it has to be getting to the final. If it's anything less, I don't think you're giving the team enough credit. They have to get to the final. If they don't, there's going to be some serious questions. I don't know what it looks like now. I don't know if we really, truly learned a lot about what Gold Cup Game 1 looks like from last night. That's not a bad thing.
So then let me ask you this in reference to last night, just in general. When you saw what Berhalter had out there tactically, was Nick Lima that centerpiece for his idea when it came to the tactical approach?
I mean, Nick Lima
tucking him in and tucking him in the midfield, and then having Lima do his thing.
That's the thing. I don't truly know. The centerpiece of the tactical approach is not about formation, and we always get zeroed in on formation, but it's probably the least important part of this. The centerpiece was possession. The centerpiece was pressing when you lost possession. That's what it all revolved around, and that was where it started. Lima cutting inside was part of it, but it was part of keeping possession when going forward because it gives you another midfielder giving you another player in a position where either Lima or Bradley could push up higher, Roldan could push up higher. You could play with 2 10s like Berhalter said he wanted and recover the ball quickly. So that's what it was all about. It wasn't that, okay, what I want to do is have my right back tuck in just because. It was all about possession and winning the ball back quickly. That's what it revolves around. You can do that a bunch of different ways. You can do it out of a traditional 4-3-3. You can do it out of a 4-2-3-1. You can do it out of a 3-5-2. You can do it out of this, which was kind of a hybrid. There's not one way to play, but we always zero in on formation when really the important thing is, are you trying to control them, or how are you trying to control the match? That's the number one thing. The formation is secondary to that. Are you trying to control the match through possession of the ball? Are you trying to control the match through counterattacks? Are you trying to control the match through a high press? Are you trying to control the match through a low block? You can control a match in a variety of ways. That's always the number one question. It's not about, is it 4-3-3 or 3-5-2 or WMs or MWs or whatever. That's secondary to what you're trying to do. That's the key here. So formation, I think, is always the number one question, and it shouldn't be. It should be, what was the plan? What was the plan of how to control the match? Let's take it, before we go to break, to how Atlanta United evolved last year. From 2017, where Atlanta United tried to control the match, honestly, with speed and with a press and with just breaking quickly and being able to outrun everybody. Pretty simple in 2017. Going into 2018, it was to control the match via possession. And you saw Nagbe and Barco come in. You saw an idea about keeping the ball more. You saw less of a press. And then at the end of the season, you saw a team that decided to control the match by not allowing any chances on goal for the opposition. Just denying, and then going. And you saw the team concede possession when all season it had been about controlling via possession. That's how teams can evolve, but that's the discussion about how to control a match. For the U.S., under Greg Berhalter, it will be about possession. It will be about quick pressing when you lose that possession, but it's always, always, always possession. That's going to be the key of how they do it. Now, how they move the pieces around on the field to get that possession could change match to match. So don't get hung up on that. It's possession. That's the number one thing he's going to want. That's the number one thing he's always going to try to work towards. And when he loses possession, it's about getting it back as quickly as possible. So whatever formation, whatever group of players that it's going to give him the opportunity to do that, that's where Greg Berhalter will be with the U.S. men's national team. We've got more clips from Berhalter talking about Nick Lima and Jordi Mihailovic, two of the young stars from last night, his impressions of the first-timers as a group as well. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Overreaction Monday here at Soccer Down Here. Share your overreactions, underreactions, on par reactions with us on Twitter at Soccer Down Here. Jason Longshore, John Nelson with you this morning. We're still talking U.S. men's national team. That's probably going to be a lot of the discussion today. We'll get into Sebastian Giovinco in a bit. Lots of talk out of Toronto, some conflicting reports. We'll give you the latest on that and everything else going on around Major League Soccer as well. A couple Major League Soccer players really stood out last night, and let's start with the first goal scorer, the number 10, Djordje Mihailovic, who appears to be set up for a big season with the Chicago Fire. Player who was injured for most of last season, but you saw Chicago look really different when he came back into the team at the end of the season. And that's honestly probably why Veljko Paunovic is still in Chicago, because of how they looked at the end. It did look like a different team. Mihailovic is going to be key to that. He looked good last night, I thought, overall. And let's see what Greg Berhalter thought about Djordje Mihailovic last night.
You know, when we talked in San Diego, Paul, I was telling you how impressed I was with Djordje all camp. I mean, he's been one of the players that's been just, his line has just kept going upwards. He's been really good, developing really well. And he's a smart soccer player. I think when you know, if you slow it down, you look at some of the small things he does, you can understand how intelligent of a soccer player he is. And I think the proud moment for a coach becomes when you select him to be played, but then he performs. And I could just imagine how proud he is right now and how proud his family is right now. And that's a gratifying moment for a coach.
So Berhalter talked about it a lot, the intelligence, the soccer IQ. And soccer IQ is not necessarily like, okay, Djordje Mihailovic is part of the Mensa Society or anything like that. It's about the intelligence on the field. And I will think back to a play early in the match where Mihailovic read the situation really well, jumped the passing lane, was in on goal, taken down. He went down a little easy. It was a heavy touch. He wasn't going to get that penalty at that stage. But his reading of the game, and in that case, not even with the ball at his feet looking to pick a pass, he read the play well. And in this system that Berhalter's going to want to play, you're going to need attacking players who can do that. And Mihailovic showed last night that he can be one of those players. And it's a position that, think back to Greg Berhalter's Columbus teams, John, with Federico Higuain and how important he was. Now, Mihailovic is a completely different kind of player, but that number 10 role is what really makes everything work for a Greg Berhalter team. If that's Mihailovic for now, he passed the first test pretty well.
4 chances in the first half, although 3 of them were off corners. But I'll take 4 chances, and for the longest time, I have wanted to see a healthy Djordje Mihailovic, whether it's in Chicago or with the national team, get some work in and prove what a lot of folks wanted to see when it came to him being on the pitch. And so, working his way all over the field, and you got to see that his game was just more than scoring the 1 goal. So I'm looking at creativity. I'm looking at being active and making sure that U.S. kept possession. So, thumbs up for me. And considering I've been tooting his horn for quite some time, it was good to see what he was getting in that rep last night.
Yeah, need more chances created from the run of play. I mean, like you said, 4, but 3 were from corners. Set piece delivery was really good from him, too, something we haven't talked about. But need more from the run of play. That'll come. He's in a position that there's just not a lot of options right now. And the main thing that revolves around is, where do you see Christian Pulisic fitting into this team when he's part of this team? Is he going to play in that type of role? Is he going to play out wide? Don't really know. There's some lineup choices for Greg Berhalter when he has everybody together now. What's the midfield going to look like with a combination of a Michael Bradley, a Tyler Adams, a Weston McKennie? Is it Mihailovic? Is it Pulisic? Who else could fight their way into that? Where does Christian Roldan fit? I thought Roldan was very good last night. What does the overall group look like with so many different options? And this is, again, where we go back to, some people gave Klinsmann and Arena the out of, well, the player pool's not that good. That's absolute complete BS. The player pool is better than it's ever been. Right now, it's definitely better than it's ever been with the youth. The players who are coming through and playing professionally now, higher numbers than ever before in U.S. soccer history. You have tough choices. That's a good thing. It's going to be down to Berhalter to make the right choices, and always thinking in mind about the way he wants to play, controlling games through possession. It's going to be interesting to see where Mihailovic fits in the long run. Another one, and you ask about it too, Nick Lima. Where does he fit in the long run? He's played as a right back pretty much consistently in a traditional 4-man back line with San Jose, a little bit as a wing back at times when they went to a 3-man back line. Nick Lima surprised, I think, a lot of people last night with his play tucking in centrally. Here's Greg Berhalter on Nick Lima.
Another thing was he got the coach's man of the match, and it was because of that, the complication of what we asked him to do and how he dealt with it. I think it's not easy to ask your right back to get the ball with his back to goal. Sometimes it's not easy to ask him to pivot in midfield to create space for other people, but he did a good job of that. And he competed on every play. The second goal is a great example of his competing in transition and winning the ball and serving a great ball in. So we were really happy with him, and I think it showed that he has a good understanding of the game.
So again, understanding of the game from Lima, soccer IQ from Mihailovic. This is another part of this development, John, that I don't think gets talked about enough. Go back 10 years, go back 15 years, where kids growing up, weren't playing in professional academies. That's a big difference in mentality. They weren't exposed to the professional game, whether it was domestic or overseas, in the same way. A lot of that understanding, that soccer IQ, comes from improved coaching, comes from improved surroundings, exposure. So many different things have led the U.S. player pool to having smarter players. And Lima being able to do that, a role that we had not seen him play professionally yet at all, winning the coach's man of the match, that's a big deal. And that shows a lot for a player who honestly hasn't really been talked about much with the full national team.
Well, and think about when Greg Berhalter is swapping players and he's using subs. Who stayed on in all of the swapping? Nick Lima. And 10 minutes to go, as Panama's trying to break, Lima comes up with a play. And honestly, looking at that entry pass for Zimmerman on the header, first thing I thought of was the Jeff Lorenowitz pass that we saw, that we all sat there and went, yikes. Tremendous work by Lorenowitz, dropping a dime for a goal. So for me, I thought it was a big moment for Lima as the U.S. players continue to just, grow and evolve with all of the activity going on around them, in the sense of being able to learn the game and being smarter and getting coaching and all these other things. And it comes through in a moment in microcosm like we saw last night.
Yeah, we've seen Lima hit those types of crosses before. Think back to Chris Wondolowski's goal at Bobby Dodd on July 4th and 17. It was a long cross, in this case from the wing to Wondolowski on the back post. Lima has just outstanding delivery, and he's a player I think you do have to consider going forward. Let's hear from Berhalter, his overall impressions of the first-timers from last night.
Well, I think that, when you look at, Barrett to Mihailovic, right, two first cap guys getting scoring points, and then you look at Lewis to Ramirez, same thing. So it's just nice. It's nice to, to put in the work over an extended period of time and then get a reward like that. I think, the guys should be proud of themselves. They really worked hard in San Diego, and it's nice when you can see that paying off.
And what does it mean for you to win your first time out?
It's nice. I think I'm more concerned with how we're playing and what we're doing, and trying to improve, trying to get better.
It's nice. He said it's nice a lot. It was very pleasant to watch. It was a good, eye-catching style. Things look good. Was Panama the type of opponent who could punish them for mistakes? Not really. I mean, this wasn't Panama's best group. Panama's honestly in a little bit of transition. We talked about it after the World Cup last year. The Panamanian group was probably at its best in 2014, that World Cup cycle. This one was 4 years older and pretty much still the same group, and they did get there in large part because the U.S. fell apart. But they needed fresh blood in their system in a bad way, and that's what you're starting to see right now. So it's not the Panama that we've seen in the last couple of cycles, and this was not their top group. So they really weren't positioned well to hurt the U.S. when mistakes were made. Costa Rica will be a tougher opponent this weekend. Probably not their best lineup either, but it's not the best U.S. lineup. So maybe we'll get a little bit better sense of like for like, battle for battle here against Costa Rica on Saturday. I want to see where it continues to go from here. I think you need to be sharper on Saturday. I think you'd like to see some different players as well. You want to see a Russell Canals. That's a player that I've been looking forward to seeing in this group for a while. You want to see some other guys, but you also want to see, I think, an even better performance. And that's where you want to see this progression, because March, that's going to be your only window ahead of the Gold Cup and the friendlies ahead of the tournament where you're going to be able to bring the European players over. So for this group, John, I think it is, if you're Nick Lima, if you're Jordi Mihailovic, if you're Walker Zimmerman, if you're Christian Ramirez, you need to show why you should be part of that group in March, because you're going to have Tyler Adams, Christian Pulisic, Weston McKennie, and the rest of the European group. You're going to have those guys in here. Potentially a Brad Gazan, potentially a Darlington Nagbe, two guys who were left out of this group that Berhalter mentioned by name. They were left out so they could get acclimated with Frank de Boer here in Atlanta. You've got guys right now on Saturday who will be playing for spots in March, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at the first-timers like a Daniel Lovitz who came in, and he had a solid first half.
I thought he was solid.
Yeah, and I mean, it was looking at the numbers, it was 2 tackles and 6 recoveries, and so solid work from Lovitz first time out of the blocks. Corey Baird, and to your point, I think we all had Baird and Mihailovic pairing for the first goal in the era. So whoever had that in the pool absolutely made a tremendous amount of money with that one. So, Corey Baird had his moments. You look at Abobasi in his first half. Berhalter mentioned Jossie Zardes and his work rate and trying to find spots to score. And when he wasn't, after the first big instance that he missed, he still kept getting after it. And Berhalter was pleased with that. You had a moment with, Aaron Long wearing the C. And, Berhalter also mentioned the idea that he talked to Michael Bradley about not wearing it. And that, Aaron was wearing it, but Michael Bradley could still have his work be a part of it, not wearing the C. It's about how you carried yourself and how you continued to work, even though the C carries authority you could still be that on the pitch with your veteran leadership. So the guys that were out there for the most part last night had their moments. And so I want to see how all of these first-timers work their way forward. Do they continue to prove themselves, or do they get lost in the sauce when the larger names, and I just used air quotes, work their way back into the equation? So there's a lot of promise there. How you go forward, for me, especially with the debutantes, that's what I'm looking forward to now.
Yeah, look, it doesn't matter if Michael Bradley has a strip of cloth around his arm, to be honest. I mean, did you see the huddles before each half and the discussions among the players? It was Michael Bradley taking the leadership role, as you would expect. He's got 140-something caps, and you didn't have many guys with more than 10 out there. So you're going to look to a guy like Michael Bradley. And yes, I know there have been comments. I know Jimmy Conrad has been very vocal in things that Michael Bradley has done in camps or said in camps. Didn't look like a problem last night. I thought the performance was good, and he's going to be competing for playing time. He will. In a Gold Cup this summer, absolutely he'll be competing for playing time. Who else is going to fit that role right now? Will Trapp, who was Greg Berhalter's captain in Columbus, who he probably knows better than anybody in this group, was on the bench last night. Michael Bradley was playing that role. Do we see that reversed on Saturday? Does Trapp get his time? Trapp had a lot of time under Dave Sarachan. Does a Tyler Adams fit into that role? He plays it very differently. Doesn't have the passing ability that Bradley and Trapp have, and that's such a key in a possession kind of team. Always bring the discussion back to that. You want to have a group that will control possession with this U.S. men's national team. So when you wonder about players and who's going to fit here and who's going to fit there, you always have to think back to that. That's what I'm going to be looking at as we see how the game turns out on Saturday, and especially as the group's called in March. One of the big questions I had going in last night when I saw the lineup was Aaron Long, Walker Zimmerman. Is this a pairing we could see more of? You normally don't get that in these January games. This one, maybe, because Matt Miazga hasn't really been playing. Didn't look so great after a couple of good appearances last year. John Brooks has been very inconsistent. I don't think there's any kind of a lock that it's Brooks and Miazga for the foreseeable future with the national team. Long and Zimmerman have every opportunity to get in there if their performances, show that that's where they should be. And they're a pairing that you could see because center back is so important, especially in this type of system. You have to have two guys who fit together. It's not just about the best two center backs. You have to have two guys who have an understanding and a fit. Long and Zimmerman weren't really tested last night, so we don't really know. They fit what Berhalter wanted to accomplish last night. Can that be the case against tougher opposition? Just going to have to wait and see, to be honest. But I think center back is one of those stories that I'll be looking for to see who wins that job for Greg Berhalter and the national team. We'll get into some of your thoughts on the match from last night on an Overreaction Monday after this break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double-goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinsky of Apolinsky & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Overreaction Monday here on Soccer Down Here, January 28th. Talking U.S. men's national team. 3-0 winners last night over Panama. One of the overreactions that is out there on the Twitters revolves around Gyasi Zardes. He was not great last night in front of goal. Rachel Affleck was not a fan of Gyasi Zardes during the match last night. Rachel Affleck was not alone of not being a fan of Gyasi Zardes especially in the first half last night. Had a couple of great chances that he should have done better with. You know, there was a lot of talk in the game about what a number 9 has to be in this system, and it's kind of funny that the conversation was, well, it has to be somebody completely different than Gyasi Zardes, when Gyasi Zardes was pretty good in this system last year for the Columbus Crew. He's not super technical. His first touch is lacking at times. He did have a nice layoff to Corey Baird last night that Baird could have done a little bit better with early on. I think sometimes the criticism is too harsh of Zardes, but let's be real with the situation now. You got a lot of competition. And whether it is a veteran like a Josie Altidore, when he's healthy, you would expect that he's going to get an opportunity here. Whether it's a youngster like Josh Sargent, who is just blowing past everyone's expectations, Gyasi Zardes can't have these types of games on a regular basis and keep getting time. He's a better player than people give him credit for. He just might not be that player at the national team level, especially if you have Josie Altidore in form and Josh Sargent in form. I don't know if Zardes is going to get time over either one of those guys.
And I don't think so either. I think that you look at what we've seen with Sargent, especially over the last little while, and it's going to be a tough slog for Zardes and trying to figure out A, role, and B, how he fits. So, no, to your point, and I know that we talked about in the last segment how Berhalter was pleased with his work rate and finding spots and trying to find those openings, but is it going to be something that can happen consistently for Berhalter's liking? I think that's one of the questions out there.
There's just competition, and that's the thing I think across the board with this roster is you have competition.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a very good thing. It's something you haven't really had a ton of, and you have competition, honestly, at every spot on the field. So you're going to have to perform, and you're going to have to perform at the club level, and you're going to have to perform when you get the opportunities in the national team shirt. There are other guys who are waiting for that opportunity, and Zardes last night wasn't good enough. He has to be more clinical in front of goal, and we'll see what happens this upcoming weekend. We'll see if he gets the start. We'll see if Christian Ramirez gets that start. Ramirez, gets a goal late. Is he going to be a guy who could fit into this? Maybe. We haven't seen a lot of it, and we honestly haven't seen him be a regular starter at the professional level since he came to MLS. Can he do that? I don't know if that's the case in this season in L.A. I don't know what they're going to do. So Christian Ramirez is kind of a wild card in the whole situation. A lot of talk about the crowd and the lack thereof. Question last night from Alex Cuppers on Twitter said, based off of the turnout in Arizona, I totally understand why U.S. men's national team never comes to Atlanta. I don't think one has anything to do with the other. You should not be playing these January games in these types of venues because it's always going to be a second choice lineup. it's always going to be against a second choice or third choice opponent. And when you're playing it in a big venue like that and charging the prices that you're charging, which I think are ridiculous, you want to have some consistency in your pricing. Totally understandable. You would like to not be in a situation where, okay, you're in a big venue against Panama with the second choice lineup. It's $10 tickets. Okay, now next game you're playing against Brazil at, I don't know, a 30,000 seat venue. So tickets are going to be a little more at a premium. Okay, we're going to charge $70 to get in the door. You'd like to have some consistency. I think you need to think a little more open-ended, too. I think you need to use these January games like you played one in Chattanooga and drew pretty well. You need to play them in smaller venues and in some different venues if you can to draw a different crowd. And the pricing overall needs to come down some. I mean, even against a Brazil, $70 to get in the door, it's too much. I don't know how the booking goes. I know from a club basis where you're playing somewhere on a regular basis, you would like to have people in the building spending other money because you're going to get that other money. I don't know how the breakdown works with the national team. I don't know if maybe for them it is just all about that ticket revenue. I think you're losing revenue by charging so much because you're getting fewer people at a higher price point than a larger number of people at a slightly lower price point. Don't give tickets away. I saw some of that, which that just completely devalues your product. But find a price point that actually makes sense, that people can bring a family to and afford. And, yeah, have your VIP tickets that have the VIP experience and are very expensive. Completely fine to do that. But have some affordable tickets, not just in the supporter section, but some affordable tickets for your average fans who would like to bring their kids and would like to experience a match like this. It has to find... There's got to be a better way to do this. There has to be, because that was an embarrassing crowd last night.
I think the number that they quoted was 9,000 or something.
Yes.
For me, I would just like some context when you're looking at events like this. What happened in Phoenix was a January friendly, as you know, the United States is trying to figure some things out, and you're going to have some star power, not a whole lot, going up against a Panamanian side that was, by all intents, either a B team or a C team. So look at the situation and give it context to sit there and say, okay, you know, this Panamanian team's not going to be the best one out there. United States team's not going to be the best one out there. You can't just bank on the fact that it's going to be a men's national team friendly and anticipate that, you know, you're going to have 11 billion people there. When it's an off-season match, put it in a venue where it'll be intimate and people can have that up close that they may not necessarily have had in other situations. I mean, seriously, you mentioned Chattanooga. I mean, for me to put a match like that at Fort Finley, you know, it's a 20,000 seat venue or 20,000 people can be there. If you have something like that in a town and in a setting that appreciates the national team and has done it for both, you know, and has done it for the women's team and has done it in lower divisions. I mean, for me, that would be the right size.
You've done
to do something.
I mean, you did it in 2017, and you drew well. So you need to do those more often. You also need to look in these January games at, you know, appropriate weather for sure. There is always a risk with a Chattanooga in February. Sure, that could happen. You do have Dallas. You do have Houston. You do have Rio Grande Valley's great little stadium as well. Yes, it would be taking the U.S. men's national team into a different place. That's okay. You have some smaller venues. You have places in California. You're going to have a Via Stadium on Saturday. You've got options. Use them. Do something a little different. Go to Al Lang for Tampa. Go play one there. Do stuff a little different than playing in a huge NFL venue with ridiculously high ticket prices for what's a B team friendly across the board. It's just not right to do that. It's you can do better U.S. soccer. It really can be better and get more people in the building and get more excitement. Because that was, credit to the players. There was no atmosphere last night. Credit to the American Outlaws who were there, but there was a small number of them because it was just blah. So make it a little bit easier to get behind this, Federation. Please. One more before we take a break. Tafka mentioning a player we have not mentioned yet who came on as a sub, Jonathan Lewis. Yep. Great work from him on the third goal. He's a player who, for whatever reason, Dome Tarrant did not really see much in him last year. Loaned him to Louisville City. Didn't really play him. He gets this call up and does well with it. I don't know what his future is in New York. I don't know where he fits. You don't have a forward in New York, and that's going to be their biggest problem right now. But, how do you fit without a number 9 at the moment? Jesus Medina, Ismail Tajori-Shradi, and Jonathan Lewis all on the field at the same time. Unless you're going to go get a forward, maybe Medina plays as a false 9, and that's going to be really interesting because Jonathan Lewis is a guy who needs to play matches.
And you saw in that one little move where the stutter step and coming right toward the camera and leaving a Panamanian player in the dust to create an opportunity. It's okay, you've done that, but where are you going to fit? And Tafka also mentions guys like Haji Wright and Bobby Wood. So there's a lot of guys that are chasing after 18, if not 11 spots, and sometimes you're just kind of caught in the in-betweens as to where you're going to fit.
Well, Jonathan Lewis has to get time at the club level before he's going to get time at the national team level, and he's not a forward,
yes.
So we're not talking about the same conversation there. Bobby Wood, Haji Wright, Josh Sargent, Josie Altidore, Jossie Zardes, that's your competition up front, and that's a pretty deep competition. Jonathan Lewis showed well here. I hope Dome Tarrant saw it because first thing for Jonathan Lewis is to play with NYC.
Yes.
I don't know if that's a guarantee in 2019. I don't know how that's going to fit. If it's not, what needs to happen with him? Because he's shown enough in my book to not be loaned out to USL or to be sitting a bench somewhere. What's next? And I don't know. I don't know what the answer is yet because he's not going to get national team time ahead of top players like a Pulisic and others if he's not playing at the club level. And right now he's not guaranteed a playing time at the club level at NYC. So bigger questions for Jonathan Lewis than just national team. But he showed well in his time last night. And we'll see if he gets more time on Saturday against Costa Rica. Let's take a break, come back, wrap up hour number 1 after this.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Finishing up hour number 1 here on SDH, January 28th. Jason Longshore, John Nelson with you this morning. Josh Eisenberg asked, why did Minnesota trade Christian Ramirez again? I mean, good for him. They traded him because they think Angelo Rodriguez is going to be better. I think 4 goals in 10 starts is not bad. Needs to show a little more. That we could go back and probably do a whole show on this one. The thing about Minnesota at this stage, when you trade a guy like Ramirez, the team better be good this year, or those whispers of, man, you traded away one of our fan favorites. Why'd you do that? Even though the replacement is not bad. Why'd you do that? If the results are there, I think people will forget a little bit. If they're not, that's one of the things that's going to get Manny Lagos and Adrian Heath in some big trouble with the fan base. Because if you're going to trade that fan favorite, you better make it work. Ask Hawks fans about trading Dominique Wilkins for Danny Manning, who then didn't re-sign. Sometimes you have to do it. Now, sometimes you have to, or the deal is just too good. You have to trade the fan favorite. Sometimes that happens. Man, you better make sure you do it right if you pull that one off. I want to see on the Ramirez end of it. Like, I don't know. We talked about it with Jonathan Lewis. I don't know what Christian Ramirez's playing time looks like in Los Angeles this year. I don't know if he's a guaranteed, 26 to 30 start guy. I don't know if he's going to be that guy with LAFC.
No, and, when he went to LAFC, that was one of the larger questions. It's like, okay, where are you going to be and how are you going to play? And that hasn't fixed itself. So, it's a great idea. Okay, so you've added that kind of firepower, but if he's sitting on the bench, you're not using it. And
who's your starter going into preseason? Is it Christian Ramirez? Is it Adama Diomande? I don't know. I honestly don't know the answer to that, because one of them is going to be your number 9. You're going to have Diego Rossi off to one side. You're going to have Carlos Vela either floating underneath or off to another side. You've got Josh Perez in the group now. You've got Latif Blessing, who played a lot last year. You've got Shaft Brewer, U.S. Youth International, who's another year in the system. Ramirez and Diomande are your 2 9s. I don't know which one is your starter on the depth chart at this stage.
And when they brought Dio in, it was, to kind of have him, be that post-up power forward guy who just kind of, for a basketball analogy, he's just kind of he's going to be right there at the block, and you try to have him in there as that change of pace or whatever you had. And when Dio was healthy, you saw what he was able to do, and he was far different from the guy that was at Hull City in the Prem. So I imagine that's where Bradley's looking, to have that kind of change of pace guy right there instead of Christian Ramirez. And then, when's Ramirez going to get his minutes? I think that's for me, that's okay. Larger question.
Started 3 games after coming over to L.A., 2 goals, 7 appearances overall. He had 9 goals in 27 matches last season in MLS. We'll see between Ramirez and Diomande. There's some depth chart issues around the league, not just with the national team. We'll start getting into those in hour number 2, but we'll start with the big drama in Toronto because, man, it is some drama. We'll get into all of it on the other side of the break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double-goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student-athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinski of Apolinski & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you.
Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Soccer Down Here daily on SDH Networks, a division of OSG Sports. Find us at Soccer Down Here on Facebook and Twitter. The time is now the top of the hour. Peep, y'all.
Welcome back. Hour number 2. Soccer Down Here, Overreaction Monday. Man, there's some overreacting going on in Toronto.
Yes.
Honestly, I don't know if it's overreacting because I have not seen a situation like this where you're getting very credible reporters saying very opposite things on a regular basis, alongside lots of whispers and lots of chatter about lots of things going on with this group. Let's start with the report that hit The Athletic earlier, or it might have been late last night or very early this morning. Joshua Clokey reported that Sebastian Giovinco left TFC camp and returned to Toronto. And he said that another source says that a transfer is in the works. We've heard this before. Giovinco's agent posted a picture saying he was in Saudi Arabia. It was also the first picture that comes up on the Google image search of that hotel. So you kind of wonder if that's legit. Then Michael Leach of All News Radio 680 in Toronto tweeted at 8:34 this morning, a club representative with TFC confirms that Giovinco's agent has made a request to take Giovinco to a doctor in Los Angeles today to investigate leg tension. Giovinco is expected to be back in training camp with the team this afternoon. Jeff Carlisle, a little bit before that from ESPN, said, league source tells me that Sebastian Giovinco hasn't left camp to return to Toronto, but rather is seeing a doctor in L.A. regarding tightness in his leg. He's expected to return to TFC camp later today. I'm told TFC hasn't received an offer for Giovinco as of yet. And he clarified and said the Giovinco info is coming from a Toronto team representative, not a league source. Okay, so those are two very different things. Left camp, returned to Toronto, transfer in the works, going to see a doctor in L.A. They are training out in California, so going to see a doctor in L.A. is not like crazy. Expected to be back in camp this afternoon. We saw the picture of Altidore and Giovinco in camp last week. Look, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. The rumors in Toronto at this stage are all over the map. After the Vanderveel altercation and dismissal, he's still on the roster. They got to find a way to get him off the roster. I don't know what's going on. This is a situation that we haven't really seen in this league to this degree, where it looks like the team, this roster that's 3 weeks, a little more than 3 weeks away from CONCACAF Champions League play, is imploding. And we knew this was a possibility with your three top guys going into the final year of their deal. You know, we wondered if this kind of felt like the last ride of the Immortals, but man, didn't expect it to end like this if this is how it ends, John.
No, and we've heard and we've seen things that we can't back up, and so it's
just a
not
lot
really...
of friction behind the scenes.
Yeah,
and there's so much talk about it that there's got to be something going on to, at a minimum, to see these differing kinds of reports about things, because this has been pretty consistent all last few weeks with Toronto. Is you'll get one reporter say this, and then two other people come out and say, no, it's not that, it's this. That's not typical. And all of the chatter that's out there, man, it's just a mess.
Yes, and to have the last ride of the Immortals turn into Toonce's the car driving cat, it's weird, it's strange, it's wild, and you can't really put a finger on anything, because you have some folks saying that he's on one end of the earth, some folks saying he's on the other end of the earth, other reporters sitting there saying, okay, well, we know what the deal is in Saudi Arabia through Saudi Arabian sources. And I mean, you got to write it all down, because you're coming at it from so many different angles. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts. And I don't know how this ends. You have Ali Curtis coming in to replace Tim Bezbatchenko. Bezbatchenko had a great offer to go to Columbus. I think he also knew that this was going to be a very difficult situation, and sometimes it's easier to just walk away. And he did. Now Ali Curtis has to clean it up. I don't know if there's going to be an easy way for him to do that.
No.
You do have talk that Toronto is not going to spend like they did bringing this group together. I don't know if that's the case just yet. I think that might be jumping to a conclusion. You also had an opportunity all at one time to go get Giovinco, Bradley, Altidore over about a year or so that you kind of gathered this group together. You spent before on bringing Jermaine Defoe in as well, and that just didn't work out. This is a club that, unless things have changed at the overall corporate level, this is a club that can spend. Now, are they going to spend on the salaries that they have for this group? Going to have to measure their return on it. I don't know if they've gotten the return that they wanted for the $5 million plus salaries for Bradley, Altidore, Giovinco. It's not just their fault, but that's a lot of outlay when you look at what Atlanta United's done. Yes, they spent more on transfer fee. Absolutely. A lot more than Toronto did on transfer fee. But you're spending a lot less on salary. And you're also bringing in players that have resale value. That's not the case for these guys, at least in a big dollar kind of way. If Giovinco cannot get on the same page with Toronto and he wants a new deal and they don't want to give it to him, and he's got an offer like what has been reported from Saudi Arabia, 3 years, 10 million euro, yeah, you got to take that. At his age, you've got to take that. But Toronto FC also has to get something for him. They need to get something, even if it's $1 million, $2 million, whatever they can grab. If Altidore, if you're in the same situation, he's talked about Mexico, you're not going to be able to get something done, he gets an offer on the table, and you can get something for him, maybe that's what you have to do. You do have plenty of time with a transfer window in MLS to add players. The problem is you're going to have to find players that are either free or basically free because they're on a club that they don't have to be replaced because the European windows close on Thursday. So you're not going to be able to get a guy that then that club needs to go replace them.
Is Terrence Boyd one of those guys?
Terrence Boyd could be one of those guys, and that's one of the rumors is Terrence Boyd, U.S. men's national team forward, 27 years old, linked to Toronto. He's currently in the second division in Germany. If you get him, you sell Giovinco, maybe you sell Altidore, although we haven't heard any specific rumors on Altidore, just the chatter from him. maybe that's part of that rebuild. But Toronto is in a very precarious spot right now, it looks like, because I feel like if they come in with the roster that they have right now into this season, they're a competitor in the Eastern Conference. If you start moving these guys who are in the final year of their deal, that if you can get a return, you probably need to grab it now because otherwise you're not going to get one. I don't know what it looks like for them this season.
No, and that's the thing. It's I was sitting there going, okay, if it's this group, top 4, but with all of the infighting and all of the rumors of stuff going on and who is sniping and who wants out and who's saying things publicly in the media, and you wonder if it's just caving in. And I mean, it's almost like Toronto FC is turning into a black hole, and it's just caving in on itself, about to go supernova, and it won't be very pretty when that happens.
No, it won't be. Another club that's had some interesting rumors here lately is the New York Red Bulls. Kaku started in a scrimmage for them. They defeated Sweden's IF Elfsborg, first division team from Sweden, 2-1 in a friendly. Kaku started. You're still getting the tweets from his account. I don't know if he is actually putting finger to smartphone to do that or if an agent is doing that for him. Still tweets about Eagles and Aguilas, and I don't know. I don't know what's new with that situation. Haven't heard any new reports out of it. The Mexican window closes on Thursday. So if Club America wants to bring in Kaku, they need to get a deal done quickly. The fact that he started in a scrimmage, I don't know if that tells you much. I don't know if that means everything's good, if that means it's just business as usual until it's not. Don't know. But the whole situation with Kaku, the whole situation with Giovinco, you have not seen that here in Atlanta with the transfer situation that you have with Miguel Almiron and other players who have been linked to rumors. Now, the latest one was Franco Escobar, linked to Boca Juniors. $5 million was the asking price. Boca balked at it. You're going to continue to get those. Tito Villalba has been mentioned a few times in rumors. Ezequiel Barco has been mentioned in rumors. We know the Miguel Almiron talk. You haven't seen this other side of it here in Atlanta yet. You haven't seen the back and forth with Giovinco or an agent or the club or whatever it looks like. You haven't seen it like Kaku with the tweeting, with the agent saying some crazy things. You haven't seen any of that here, and I think it's really helped the process. And hopefully at the end of it will help the business be best for all concerned.
And that's it's been interesting to see just the level of activity and players associated with everything. And then you're not getting public, you're not getting public comments from a lot of folks. And it's just, it's, can I go ahead and use the word refreshing?
Sure.
To see, it's refreshing to have a team and a team dynamic that is like this, where you see dinners on Instagram with multiple players and you have that kind of camaraderie and how it carries itself all the way through things. And so I think that having instances like an Instagram photo speak volumes as to the whole vibe of a franchise and how they carry themselves. And you don't see that in other places. To me, it's just a refreshing way to go about business.
It's different. It's different right now in this league, but we haven't seen this type of stuff in this league either on a regular basis. So I don't know if it's part of the growing up process. I don't know. Maybe this is the teenagers acting badly stage of MLS development, but you're getting some of this. On the smoother ride of things, NYCFC added former Georgia United midfielder Juan Pablo Torres, 19 years old. He's from Lilburn originally. He was in the Georgia United Academy before Atlanta United started. It's cool. I mean, but that's the thing, and this is where like I don't think of it this way anymore, and that's a good thing. It's a 19-year-old from Lilburn. He signed a pro deal. He was already in Belgium with Lokeren. What's so cool about it. That should be happening more often.
Agreed.
That's a normal thing these days. It doesn't need to be a cool thing. It needs to just be a thing. That's where everything's going, in my opinion. I think still we're kind of caught up in like, oh, wow, that's wow. And it's not detrimental, but it's just at a point now that it's not that big of a deal. You know? Haven't seen it yet, but I just saw a great tweet about Kimberly McCauley's most recent piece over at SB Nation. The tweet was, American soccer fans have let Freddie Adu prevent us from enjoying players for too long. In 2019, let's leave that fear behind. Driving the Josh Sargent hype train. It's this thing where, like, American soccer's not quite grown up yet. And I think it should be. I think it's okay to think bigger. Okay, Freddie Adu didn't make it. Happens. How many English players were Freddie Adu before Freddie Adu and didn't make it?
A lot.
Yeah. Same in France, same in Spain, same in Argentina, same in Brazil, same everywhere. Same in the NFL, same in the NBA, same in Major League Baseball. Why is it such a big deal here? We've seen athletes come from Lilburn before. We've seen athletes come from the Metro Atlanta area before to sign deals in all sports. It's Juan Pablo Torres. It's a good thing for him. It's a good opportunity. He's probably going to be an 8 or a 10 in that group. Where does he fit in? I don't know. Is he going to push Maxi Morales for playing time? Is he going to push to be that replacement for Yangel Herrera to play next to Alexander Ring? He could. Does he slide out wide? Maybe. But it's just a good thing that he's a professional from this area who's signed a contract. It's just an addition for NYC. I don't know if he starts more than 12 games this year. That's just the story now. I love that that's just the reality. And that's where we're at, that it's just another signing, you know? That's cool. That's a cool thing to be at right now, where it's not an outlier that a Metro Atlanta kid is signing a pro deal. It's just another day that ends in Y. It's very cool. David Usted has been signed up by the Chicago Fire. They got him off waivers from DC United. He will likely be the starter. A couple things that have to get sorted out, and Stephen Goff from the Washington Post tweeted this. Chicago is going to pay for $150,000 of his guaranteed contract. There's $240,000 that DC United has to deal with. That's a pretty big chunk for a guy who's not on your roster anymore. There's really not much you can do unless you buy out the contract or whatever. Goff does speculate about that. If the investors agree to the buyout, you can do a buyout once every year. So you could do that here. I don't know if they have any other candidates for a buyout, so maybe that's the way to do it. If you do that, none of it sits on the books this year. If they don't do that, it's on your cap. So that's $240,000 that you can't use on your cap. DC wasn't going to use him. Bill Hamid's the guy there. Chicago needed a starting level goalkeeper that they could trust. I think Usted's that guy. I think it's a good signing for Chicago, and maybe Chicago is starting to make some sense going forward. Maybe. Big maybe, but maybe. They also brought back Johan Kappelhoff at center back. So Chicago's getting busy after they had like 16 guys on their roster about 10 days ago. So that's the news around the league. We'll get into a couple of bigger picture things about Dallas and Philadelphia after the break. If you guys have reactions, over, under, on par, send them our way on Twitter at Soccer Down Here, whether it's about Giovinco, whether it's about Juan Pablo Torres, whether it's about New York Red Bulls, Kaku, wherever you want to take it, we're here for you. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Overreaction Monday, January 28th. Let's get back into the Twitter timeline before we hit a couple rumors around the league. K-Row on Twitter, with PT Watch officially over, and regardless of what Atlanta United does to resolve the designated player situation, can we start overreacting to who will play right back until the Joker returns? Gresslemania is the only player with MLS experience. I just love K-Row that you called him the Joker, because I've said that a few times because of his just unbelievable tattoo that Franco Escobar has. I don't think it's really stuck, so I'm glad somebody listens. Thank you, K-Row. Right back, it's got to be Gressel. I mean, what I'm curious about is what the lineup and tactics look like against Herediano, because you don't have Escobar, so you are limited at right back. Gressel's only started one game as a right back in a four-man back line. That was at Orlando in August. Generally, he was playing as a right wing back in a 3/5-man back line. It's a little bit different role. Not to say he can't do it, it's different. You don't really have another easy option there unless you're going to be able to flip a George Bello over to the right side, a Jose Hernandez over to the right side. Probably not a Breck Shea or a Chris McCann, but I mean, maybe. You're going to have to figure that out. And if you worry about that, do you play 3-5-2 to try to mitigate it? Because you could, and you could play, I mean, you could easily see a scenario where it's a 3-5-2, three center backs, LGP, Parkhurst, Robinson or Lorenowitz, Bello as a left wing back, Gressel as a right wing back. There you go. That might be what you have to do in the short term. This is going to be a process, and what will be very interesting to see is, we talked about Berhalter, and his number one idea was possession. Okay, what is that going to be for De Boer? By all accounts, it's the same. It's possession. But how does he achieve that? And when you look at his Ajax teams, his 4-3-3 that he played there, it played out a little differently than Atlanta United played the 4-2-3-1 in the past. So how does the personnel fit that? Or do you make the decision, as Frank De Boer said on day one of training camp, I'd be foolish to force players into a system that I don't have the players for. So do you say, you know what, I don't have this yet. I can't do the 4-3-3 yet. I can't do that. Maybe we'll get there. Maybe we won't. We're going to do this instead because it matches what I have. That's the questions at the moment. And those are the questions that we might not get answers to until February 21st in Costa Rica.
And for me, I'm taking this, and this is going to sound cliche-ish, but I'm looking at matchups and I'm looking at things a game at a time. And how you view things against Herediano is one way, and then you just take that as that game at that time. And then Next match comes up, okay, things might be different, but they may not. So I'm going into this with not a whole lot of surprise when a starting 11 is rolled out in a certain way. So it's just be prepared for everything, anticipate anything, and what happens in front of you happens in front of you.
Yeah. Percy Herrera about U.S. men's national team. Yedlin out. See, I don't know. Because can you see DeAndre Yedlin doing what we saw Nick Lima do? No, we hadn't seen Nick Lima do it either before last night. So I don't know if I would jump to that conclusion, but does he fit that? No, you'd like to see DeAndre Yedlin running up and down the wing. Can you still control possession? Can you still win the ball back quickly if you change the way your back four functions? Yeah, you can. You can do it in a variety of ways. You could do the same type of thing that you saw last night, just changing the way it works a little bit. If you have DeAndre Yedlin and he's in fine form and you want to, highlight him on the right side of the field, if you've watched the tape and you see that the opposition, man, the left side just cannot defend. We want to run at these guys. Yedlin, you're getting the start. You're going to go down the right wing every single chance you get. I don't want you to even think about the back four. When you see the opportunity, green light, go. Okay, now how do you cover? Maybe your left back doesn't go. Maybe he sits at home. Maybe your defensive midfielder drops in to make that line of three and give you that extra balance. You have different ways to do it based off the players that you choose. So, Percy, I wouldn't necessarily say that just because they did this against Panama in this game, that this is how the right back will always function in this team. Because, honestly, you could flip it to just the left back does that instead of the right back. But then Yedlin sitting at home more, is that going to get the best out of him? Probably not. So you have to figure out who is playing the best. What does the opponent present? Is it a game where you can try stuff, or is it a game where you need to get a result? So many things go into it that I would not rule anybody out of anything right now.
Yeah, honestly, that's because things are in development. I guess if you want to put a construction sign on top of everything when it comes to the men's national team, it's like, okay, I want to see players, I want to see system, I want to see ideas, and I want to see, all right, so who's best going to fit here? Who's best going to do this? Who's best going to be here in the situation? So I'm looking at things situationally all across the board right now, just because we're so young into a process.
Yeah, I wouldn't make any absolutes just yet.
No.
The Atlanta United subreddit, our Atlanta United, when they tweet at me from the subreddit, I feel like it's the entire group, like thousands of people like holding up a sign with the tweet or something. It's really cool.
We have a majority vote.
Yeah. The tweet is, I am happy that the Miggy transfer saga has not been as dramatic as Kaku and Giovinco. Yeah. Oh, man. Could you imagine the Atlanta media if you had this type of stuff playing out?
Ooh,
that would be wild. We haven't really seen... When was the last time in Atlanta sports that we've had something like what we're seeing with Giovinco or Kaku? I can't think of one. I can't think of a Hawks really contentious, re-signing a guy. Horford.
I would have probably said the Thrashers move to win it. The Thrashers sale.
No. That's not even the same thing. We're talking about players moving or trying to get a new deal. Yes, a franchise moving is a whole different story.
What, Julio's holdout?
No, that's not even the same thing either. There's Al Horford, a little bit of contentious things. He said some things about the fans that were kind of maybe shouldn't have worded it that way. Not a good look. Don't think he really cares right now being in Boston. He didn't have it with
I can't think of a
or any of the other
contentious
Hawks. Falcons, maybe Dion when he left. And he went to did he go to San Francisco or Dallas first? He went to San Francisco.
Yeah, because remember he got into the fight with Andre Rison the first game back when he was a 49er.
Because he said it was the house that Dion built. And
yes.
It wasn't, but he really wasn't completely wrong.
Then they got into the slap fight first play from scrimmage.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the after. I don't remember the chirping from Dion or his people as he was trying to leave. I don't think there was really much of a thought he was going to stay. So,
yeah,
can't really think of any Braves. Maybe the
No.
Glavine, and maybe that one. That one was kind of rough.
But did Tom chirp though about, Smoltz maybe when he left, wanting to be a starter instead of a reliever?
Yeah, that was pretty minimal. The Glavine one I remember as being pretty contentious, but it might have been more of the comments after he was gone as opposed to like in the process of going. It's probably Al Horford, and that really wasn't even that bad. So this is different. I mean, if you had something like this here, wow. And you probably will at some point, just because it's the nature of the beast. It's going to happen because sometimes you can't do enough to prevent these things. Kaku, especially. I didn't expect this out of Kaku. I expected something with Giovinco or Altidore or Bradley because they're in the last year of their deal. Kaku just got there. And now he's trying to angle for more money, and maybe there was a good offer from Club America, and maybe they offered a stupid amount of salary to him, and he's just saying, I'm going to get this.
Pay the man's Uber and his furniture.
And then there's that. I mean, 1 year there, and you're getting it out of Kaku. I didn't expect it. So sometimes it blindsides you, and you just have to deal with it the best you can. And the Red Bulls are trying to, but I don't know what their way out is going to be. Trains with this question about the match last night. And it's a good one. I think Abobasi and Baird on the wing were more of a problem than Zardes. Strikers on the wings are bad. You both had a few moments, and they were trying to play it more like a front three as opposed to like wingers who are going to be doing more than just being forwards. They're just wide forwards. I kind of liked Corey Baird out there. Baird has a ton of potential. I like the way he sees the game. I like his movement. I like his passing. He's raw, though. He's very raw. So I don't know what his ceiling it truly is. Abobasi, I didn't expect to see out wide. Taylor Twellman talked about it. Berhalter really likes what he can do inside the final third with his left foot from a passing perspective. So he delivered a nice cross to Zardes that Zardes should have done better with. Are there better options than those two out wide? Yeah, I think so, and I think with the full national team, you'll see that. But Baird was a pleasant surprise for me. Abobasi was okay. I want to see where Baird fits long term, and that's a Real Salt Lake question as much as a national team question. I don't know if he's a USMNT guy on a regular basis, but at Real Salt Lake. Is he a 9? Is he a winger? Is he a wide forward and a front 3? I'm not 100% sure yet, but I like what we've seen from him so far. I just don't know where to slot him in.
Well, and once again, with this not being your star-studded A+ lineup across the board when it comes to 11 and 18, you're going to see guys like Baird come in, and you're going to see a Lovitz come in, and you're going to see these opportunities, and you're going to have these names pop up every once in a while. And I think that what it does, at least I hope what it does, is that it gives the player confidence in what they've done so far, and you hope it motivates them forward because where Baird's concerned, he goes back to Real, and you hope that what he's learned at the national team level can go back and apply and help his growth with the team that he's with day in and day out. And so, I'm looking at this as much as an opportunity continue to continue to be with the national team as much as it is to continue your growth with your local club. And so I think that for Baird or his RSL-ness, I'm hoping that this continues to learn and go forward and give him more confidence along the way.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see what it ends up being. Thanks to associate producer Kelly Francis for tweeting some pictures at us, doing some investigative work. Looks like Franco Escobar's training, folks. Unless they're old pictures, but he is in the background of some shots, and usually that does not happen by accident. So, just saying, the Joker maybe will be available against Herediano. It's very early days. There's a lot of time between now and then, but he does not appear to be in any kind of he's not in a wrap or anything. You don't see his arm like bound down. He's not in a sling. He's looking normal. He's probably got a brace on underneath everything because he's a little bundled up. It's a little chilly out there. But Franco Escobar appears to be in training for Atlanta United. A little earlier than expected, but hey, take it. And these are pictures posted about 5 minutes ago. So
okay, yeah. Tafka said that this was the first that he's heard about you using Joker in connection to Escobar.
I've said it on games. I've said it in pre and post stuff. I've said it in matches before. So I just think the tattoo is ridiculously awesome, and that's why I called him that. So I don't know. One of those things. It happens every once in a while. It hasn't really caught on, so I don't force it.
Nothing wrong with that. I mean,
yeah.
we see what we see.
Yeah, exactly. Michael Valverde with a question about the national team. How would you compare Greg Berhalter's approach with the national team and Columbus? It's so early. I would want to revisit this probably after the Gold Cup where the games mean something, but the idea is roughly the same about controlling the game via possession and then trying to win the ball back quickly. That's consistent from his Columbus time. Columbus, you more often than you saw last night, you would see both outside backs go forward and your number 6 defensive midfielder would drop in to create that line of 3. A lot of times in Columbus, you saw your outside backs underlap, they would cut inside, and your wide players stayed out very wide. Didn't really see that last night. Don't know if it was down to the players who were there, or is Berhalter trying to do some different things, or what. So let's wait and see through the Gold Cup, because that's what everything right now is leading towards. There's a clear path from today to Gold Cup final that this national team is on, and that's what everything should be focused on. That's the first step. What is it going to take to get there? We'll see approach-wise. If this is it, what we saw last night, I don't think I would look at that as a carbon copy of how this team will play in every match. But what elements are we going to see continue? And I think it's down right now just to the basics of possession, controlling possession, limiting possession for the opposition, and when you turn it over, trying to win it back high up the field. I think those are the things that are consistent between the USMNT and Columbus for Greg Berhalter. I think that'll continue. Before we go to break, Katie Weaver has a very important question. Are y'all sure Jarrett Smith isn't in an undisclosed pod studio in Saudi Arabia? Probably where you could, I don't know, undisclosed or pod studio in Saudi Arabia. If you put that into Google image search, the first one, that's what we would be Instagramming out to say, or Jarrett would be Instagramming out to say, yes, I'm here. I'm podcasting from here. In this analysis, which one of you are Bradley and Josie? Oof. But Katie says, we miss you, Jarrett, and your golden metaphors. So Jarrett is in a new job day 1 today. We will get him to sneak away and make a call from his phone or from a stairwell somewhere to chime in.
Much
from
like
time to
Felipe.
time.
He's learned from Felipe.
Yes, yeah, they're going to be trading notes on how to do this. But Jared will also be chiming in on soccer over there, possibly tonight. We'll see if he is available after day 1 at the new job. But also on 1v1s. And we need a name for the Jarrett Smith hot drop. It needs its own name. So workshop that one for us and give us some ideas on Twitter at Soccer Down Here, because he's going to have to do some of these. He's also going to write some more for the website as well. So Jarrett's not going anywhere. He's just not going to be available on the morning show on a regular basis, but he's still going to be part of the whole mix here at SDH and in some different ways than he's been able to be before. So looking forward to that. We're going to take a break, come back, more questions from you guys, more rumors from around the league as we wrap up an Overreaction Monday. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinsky of Apolinsky & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you.
Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. SDH, January 28th, Overreaction Monday. Tosca TLC is overreacting, I guess, about the quality of investigative reporting around Atlanta United. It says, can we talk about the fact that the best we can apparently do is leaking the date that the kit will release and not the kit itself? Weak sauce.
Haha.
Well, yes, that was the tweet. We didn't have to go letter for letter on the tweet, but yes, I think we got the point across. I don't know. And I'm not 100% sure that date thing is necessarily the case. I don't know. Timing would make sense, but I don't know. I don't have any connections at lids.com, so can't help you with that one. They've been good this time, though. They have not leaked anything. And I was really excited, by the way, to see at lids.com that they have New Era Atlanta United hats. Because I'm not a fan of the Adidas hats because the sizing is just weird. I guess I have a large head, and the Adidas hats are not wide enough for my large
tremendous cranium.
Yes. So New Era hats are a little more just comfortable for me, and they have a couple different ones. I was very happy to see that was a new thing now, that New Era has, I guess, MLS hats across the league, but they have Atlanta United. I was hoping 47 brand would, because I remember 47 brand doing something with MLS, but they haven't really done much with it. And I'm a little surprised that some of these rights holders that have MLS rights are not pumping out everything imaginable with an Atlanta United logo on it right now, because it would probably sell. So I'll have to be looking for one of those New Era Atlanta United hats. I might be making a call to lids.com. And I'll ask if anybody's got a release date, and they'll laugh at me and say no.
Here's your QOD.
I can't help. Okay.
Here's your QOD. Fitted or adjustable?
I like fitted when it fits. It's just bad fitted is terrible. The flex fits are so inconsistent. Like sometimes a flex fit is great. Well, yeah, sometimes it gives you a headache, but sometimes like they kind of mold to fit like a glove and they're awesome. Other times it just sucks. So you gotta kind of test it out and also know that it's gonna evolve a little bit with the sizing. So adjustable is always the safe bet.
And for me, that's always my number one, because if I go fitted, I can't do flex because it gives me a headache, and I'll always end up going to a 7 3/4 because I have a tremendous cranium.
Mm-hmm.
And what I learned a trick from a friend of mine a long time ago, that what you can also do is go up a 1/4 inch and then wet the brim, and then put that wet brim on your head, and then it molds to your head, as opposed to having to deal with specifically getting what you think your hat size is and then dealing with that as a hat.
That's good to know.
Yep. Go up a 1/4 inch, wet the brim, then put the hat on your head, and then it molds to you, as opposed to you having to squeeze into something that you might be a tweener on.
That is very good to know. I will have to take that into account when I'm looking at my potential new era Atlanta United hat, because I would like to have one of these. So I'll have to figure that out. Fit, yeah. I mean, I like fitted hats better. It's just the sizing, and then you get the flex fit thing that so many are going to now. It's just hard to get it right. But I do like them more, for sure. Valverde with another question, and this is one that we do need to get into here. So Miguel Almiron, we know about the Newcastle situation. We know about the agent reportedly heading over to Italy to talk to Napoli. We've heard all this. Valverde has a question for you, John. Seems Tottenham Hotspur could use some Miguel Almiron, eh?
Yeah. Well, considering now that Mauricio Pochettino has said that, cup competition is just And when you get bumped out by Crystal Palace in the FA Cup over the weekend, and you have no offense, and Son is still at Asia Cup, and your number one scoring threat right now with injuries to Dele Alli and Harry Kane is Fernando Llorente. That's a big no, good buddy. And it would make some sense to kind of help things out. You know, Arsenal's looking to sign 2 players, according to Unai Emery. So, are we going to do something Thursday for transfer deadline day?
It's possible. We might have to, and I'm afraid of it. I'm terrified of the ridiculous chaos that could be emerging on Thursday. So it's like I don't want to commit to it because I'm scared, but we might have to. So stay tuned. Shiva with a question. With Alphonso Davies and Tyler Adams making their debuts this weekend in the Bundesliga, which Atlanta United homegrown do you think will give us a debut soon? So we'll take a debut in a European league. Who would be the first one to make that jump? I think it's Bello. I mean, Bello's just a lot of its position. You know, at left back, a great left back is always in demand, and Bello has the potential to be that. I think he's going to attract the most attention first, and he's also, I think, in line right now to get the most playing time with the first team this year because, again, position. And you moved Greg Garza to clear that room. Bello's got to earn it. Bello's got to perform to keep it because he does have competition, but he's going to have every opportunity. So I think that puts him just a little bit further ahead of everybody else.
And speaking of the Premier League, your Newcastle update as of about 40 minutes ago.
Oh.
Sky Sports, Rafa Benitez says Newcastle are still active in the transfer market, but admits he's unsure they'll make any signings before Thursday's deadline. Asked if Newcastle are still active in the market, quote, "Yes, I don't know how hard it will be to sign players because I don't do the deals," end quote. Asked if he's hopeful, he added, "I don't know."
That's not very hopeful.
That's not optimistic.
That's not hopeful at all. When you're asked if you're hopeful and you say, "I don't know," that is the opposite of hopeful. Anyway, Waffle House United.
Focus on other teams until further notice.
Yeah, pretty much. Waffle House United with a question, and John, you have some information on this. Flow Sports and CONCACAF have done a deal.
Multi-year deal gives FlowFC.com exclusive English language rights to the CONCACAF Nations League in the United States through 2022. And the multi-year agreement begins in March during week 4 of CONCACAF Nations League qualifiers. Live tournament coverage on on-demand content through 2022. More than 770 hours of coverage. Quoting Flow Sports co-founder Mark Floriani, "This is a landmark deal for Flow Sports as we continue to expand our soccer coverage. The CONCACAF region represents some of the most competitive teams and players, and we're thrilled to give fans access to these world-class games." CONCACAF General Secretary Philippe Moggio, quote, "As the CONCACAF Nations League gains popularity across our region, very proud to partner with Flow Sports to continue engaging our English-speaking fans who will now be able to follow all the action with this new national team competition live in the U.S. through the Flow FC soccer platform." And then he goes on, more than 200 games of the Nations League from qualifying through knockout broadcast on FlowFC.com, the company's 25th vertical. And all of that begins final round qualifying March 21 through 26, 2019. The release does not say anything about the cost of said vertical, although it is available on the app on iOS, Roku, or Apple TV 4.
Yeah, so this is kind of a big deal if you haven't paid attention to how competitions will go. CONCACAF Nations League is a new competition. The U.S. will jump into it in September of this year. You have the final match day of qualifying, as John said, March between the 21st and the 26th of 2019. This is for everyone from, right now you're looking at countries who are trying to get into CONCACAF Nations League A as Martinique, Jamaica, Cuba, Canada, Haiti, Curacao, trying to qualify for League B, Bermuda, Guyana, St. Kitts and Nevis, Dominican Republic. Nicaragua is just on the outside looking in. This also relates to 2019 Gold Cup qualifying as well. It's complicated, but it's essentially comparable to the UEFA Nations League, all of that stuff that we're starting to see more of. So you're not going to see as many just random friendlies against random countries anymore. You're going to have more games with competition. So your teams that are in League A right now, it's Costa Rica, Honduras, Mexico, Panama, Trinidad and Tobago, United States. That's your hex from the last time of qualifying. It's 4 groups of 3. So you're going to play 2 group games. You're going to play 6. Wait a minute, how do you play 6 in the group phase in September, October, and November? Are you playing teams 3 times? Maybe you're not playing every match day? I don't know. It's CONCACAF, so throw your hands up and wonder why, and that's typical reactions to CONCACAF. So the U.S. International Match Days, September, October, November of 2019 will be in the CONCACAF Nations League, and you'll be able to watch on Flow Sports, and I'm sure people are going to be happy about that when they want to watch on another network and it's not available. I'm sure that will go over very well.
Yes, traditionally.
Yeah, that'll be great. Let's go ahead and record a disclaimer now because we probably need to. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm afraid of that one. I remember seeing the DC United reaction to their broadcast being on Flow Sports, and this is going to be the national team on Flow Sports, and I'm assuming not anywhere else, unless the Spanish language rights are still Univision, which is very possible.
And that would, I could see viewership increasing over there on the over-the-air product.
But you're going to have lots of yelling and complaining and stomping of feet.
Yes.
That will happen.
Gnashing of teeth as well.
Yeah, it's another amount of money you're going to have to pay. So we'll see how this goes down. But Flow Sports, that's a pretty aggressive move for them. It's a pretty bold move, and we'll see what this means for them, what it means for CONCACAF, what it means for just soccer viewing in general, because it's changing really fast. All right, we're going to take our final break, come back, and wrap everything up on an Overreaction Monday. This is your last call. If you have an overreaction, throw it at us on Twitter at @SoccerDownHere. We'll be right back.
Today's show is presented by Apollinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency, or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Final segment, Soccer Down here, January 28th. Jason Longshore, John Nelson with you. We've got a little bit more chaos to talk about in Toronto. Paul Tenorio with an update. Sebastian Giovinco left Toronto FC camp on Sunday, did not take part in team dinner, and did not spend Sunday night at the team hotel. According to sources, Giovinco told people he was returning to Toronto. However, according to a team spokesperson, he did not fly back to Toronto, but he stayed in Los Angeles, just not at the team hotel. Okay. Also, Toronto FC president Bill Manning confirmed to Joshua Cloakey of The Athletic that Toronto FC received a transfer offer for Giovinco, but rejected it. And here we go. This is where you are totally in negotiation mode. Toronto just has to get what they can and get out of this and do it quickly so it doesn't linger. So it's not a, where in Los Angeles is Sebastian Giovinco today? What hotel is he staying in? Where is he having dinner since he didn't have it with the team? What is next?
Dial it up, Buttercup.
You're not going to re-sign him. You're not going to give him $10 million over 3 years. You're not going to give him 3.3 per year at his age, commit to 3 more years. I just don't see that out of Toronto. And if you've already made that decision to not do that, that's 3.3 euros. So that would be probably closer to about 4 million a year, roughly cash. And I don't know how that translates between the Canadian dollar and the U.S. dollar because I'm doing well enough to translate pounds and euros to American dollars. So bear with me.
3/4. It's like 75 cents.
Anyway, Giovinco's not getting paid like that from Toronto. You've already made that decision if you're Toronto FC. You have the potential to bring in something and be able to take that something because you would expect that, well, you're going to get recouped. You're going to recoup everything you spent on Giovinco. You're not going to make that money back. So you're going to be able to pocket this and just keep it. Now, I don't know on allocation money how that goes down since you're just recouping here because I don't remember what the transfer fee for Giovinco was, but it wasn't stupid. But you've paid him a ton of salary. And remember, anytime you sell a player, you're going to be able to recoup what you've paid them. So you're not going to get $7 million back. And you've been paying Giovinco around that per year. So you're going to keep all of the money here. None of it's going to go to the league. Now, my question is, okay, if that's the case, can you still take $750,000 into general allocation money from a deal like this? Because that could be a big help for them.
It was free.
Okay, but you're still recouping on salary for this, so the point's all the same. Doesn't matter what the transfer fee was. You're going to just keep this money if you're Toronto, whatever you bring in, because you're probably honestly talking a couple million, maybe. I mean, he's in the last year of his deal. He doesn't want to be there. If you get to the summer transfer window, he can just sign a deal and go after the season's over, play out his contract, and walk, and you're getting nothing. If you're going to be able to take this money and, yes, pocket it, but then also use some of it for general allocation money, it's definitely worth it to do it now so it doesn't become a distraction. But you better have that replacement. And if that's Terrence Boyd and or somebody else, it's time to start thinking on that side too because I don't see how this ends with Giovinco suiting up for Toronto at the end of the day. I just don't see it.
So what was it? What 7.1 was what he made last year total compensation?
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be 4 point.
Yeah, it's not happening. We can say every number possible. You're not getting more than that in a transfer fee. You're not going to re-sign him for that kind of money. He's not going to get that kind of money. You're not going to give him a contract paying him anywhere like $3-4 million a year over a 3-year deal. It's just not going to happen at this stage. You've made that decision if you're Toronto, by all accounts. So if you've made that decision, then now he wants to go and there's an offer on the table. Find the most you can get and do it and move on quickly, because this is only going to get worse. This is coming off the heels of a player getting into an altercation with your manager and being sent home from camp. Now you got to figure out how to eat that money or do something with it. Get him off your roster. You've also got Josie Altidore, who's not exactly happy. You're probably going to have to deal with that in some way. This is a mess, and the longer it lingers, Toronto's season is kaput. You need to do it now or as soon as you can to get the most you can and move on and get replacements. Because the Eastern Conference is still in play for Toronto if they're able to maneuver correctly here. Because outside of Atlanta, Red Bulls, and DC, I think Toronto is the next best team in the conference.
And, I mean, I've always looked at a full-strength Toronto side coming off of injuries, regardless of, I know that Victor Vasquez is out the door and all that, but competitive top 4. But with all of this madness, it is, the wheels are coming off and the hood's blown up and the engine's dropped and the transmission's leaking oil all over the place. You got to fix the car now.
Yeah, it's time. You can't let this linger and get worse, because it will if you don't. And you've already got issues. So handle this correctly, Toronto, if you want to have a shot this year. And remember, you do have CONCACAF Champions League to deal with as well. And that's also in play. So this is going to be very interesting. Oh, by the way, now you're getting also reports from TNT Sports in Argentina that Boca Juniors are interested in Leandro Gonzalez-Perez. Here's something I would tell you guys when it comes to Tito Villalba and LGP and Boca Juniors. Not saying it won't happen, because it could. Don't think it's very likely in those two cases because of a couple of things. Remember who LGP is a huge fan of? That big rival of Boca Juniors called River Plate. Came through their academy, by the way. Played for River Plate. I think it'd be very, very difficult for him to play for Boca because of that. Not saying it's impossible, saying it's rather unlikely. Tito Villalba was a similar situation. When he was first rumored to leave San Lorenzo, there was a lot of heavy rumors about going to Boca. He made it very clear that he did not want to play for Boca. The only club he wanted to play for was San Lorenzo. And he signed a new deal at San Lorenzo knowing that he was going to be leaving because he wanted San Lorenzo to be able to benefit from a transfer. So those two have both been linked to Boca by different reports. I don't necessarily put a lot of stock in it because of the backstory with both of them. So it's there. Don't freak out. I think it's rather slim that you're looking at it. Right now, Boca and River both have lost a lot of players from the Libertadores finals teams, and they have to reload. So there's going to be a lot of talk. Atlanta United's a high-profile club now. So you're going to have talk about its players. I just think these two to Boca, I'm not buying it because of the past situations.
No, there are too many dots that point in different directions. So just keep that in mind. When
money changes dots. We all know that.
True. Yes.
I don't think these two are very likely.
So but just with the next 4 days being what they are, just remember it's what this time of year is all about.
Well, yeah, and also remember this: Argentina's window doesn't close Thursday. You have to keep that in mind. Argentina's window doesn't close till February 20th. So that's FIFA's transfer windows, which are not the same everywhere you go. It's strange, but welcome to FIFA and CONMEBOL and CONCACAF and all of it. It's bonkers. So Argentina, you're going to have some of this continue. The Superliga has just returned to action across the board. You're going to hear more of this as you go. But first up in the crazy week of silly season transfer sagas it's the European windows closing on Thursday, and Miguel Almiron and what happens. We'll talk more about it later today on Soccer Over There, 6:30 live on the app, on the website, on Spreaker. Nick Alifi will be joining us. We'll get into everything that's happened in Europe lately. We'll talk silly season because there's a lot beyond Atlanta United's involvement in silly season to talk about. We'll get caught up on the silly season with Nick tonight, 6:30, and we'll talk about Miguel Almiron and what teams, if there are any new ones in play, what it looks like, what needs to happen between now and then, and just what to watch for. Try to give you that update as best we can because there could be more that happens today between now and then. That's it for a show for us. We're going to take a break for a little while. We'll be back with Soccer Over There later. Overreaction Monday. Good overreactions, some overreactions, some really good on par reactions. It was a good day. Good day, John.
Yeah, no, it's always fun to come back at it and hear what the people are thinking, especially after what happened with the men's national team last night. We always know that that's stuff that's going on, obviously, with player transfers and all that. And, we didn't even get into Royal Rumble.
No, that'll be on Wrestling Down Here at 1:35 in the morning. So be ready for that. That'll pop up. Just keep looking for it. It'll show up. It will, for sure. All right, that's it for a show. Thanks for everybody for listening. We appreciate it. Thanks for all of y'all contributing and sending in your thoughts. We'll be back tomorrow with SDH, 9 a.m. Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha plata, y'all.